Victor kind of falls behind, it takes a couple of turns before he can really get set back up. That said, a ton of removal. Kai'Sa actually very favored into this, specifically because of a card like Ferris Forerunner.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, traditionally in the past, Kaiser has had a fantastic matchup against Victor, so I'm actually very curious to see how this new set 2 has changed things between. How's the dynamics have changed between these two legends? Because, man, with Falling Stars just alone has been over to overpower Victor in the past. But is there just a lack of units now that kind of makes Fallen Stars feel a little bit more lackluster? Or is it going to be the same story as before? But starting things off, just curving out nice and simple. The Pouty Pour for the Kaiser, the recruit token for the Victor. And Pouty Poro seems pretty good, I will say, in this matchup because of that deflect. Because Victor wants to just keep pinging away these units, and he's gonna have to be forced to pay for that on Pouty Poro.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of having to use those deflect costs early on here, so we'll have to see if he's going to uh, utilize, what he's supposed to in these early removal tools, or if he's just going to go for this Victor while it's available. That said, it is a little risky, as Kai'Sa is known for being able to hit backline units, and well, it's going to start here with just another unit and a recruit to back it up. So we'll have to see where this Pouty Poro is going to go. I kind of want to assume that he's going to go for the treasure hoard, get himself a gold token, make it that much easier to just maintain these runes here in the future. But yeah, I mean, I think Glass is off to a great start.
Yeah, I believe so indeed. I do like the play going into the treasure order just to get, it just costs one energy. But speaking of what we were saying before, the falling star notorious spell from Kaiser players coming down and getting rid of both of the back line. The honest broker will get a gold for his troubles, but the recruit token no longer with us. Pouty Poro able to push through whatever he wants. Going into the Dreaming Tree, however, kind of signals to me that they have a way, and never mind, I was going to say maybe they have a way to draw something like a Stupefy, but completely tapping out for that Yordle.
I mean, I love the Yordle here. I think it's a great use of your energy. Just allows you to draw a card, gives you another crappy unit that you don't really care if it goes or stays, and it continues to build up that backline where Victor really needs to make sure that this backline does not get filled here, because if it does, there's just not enough runes available with the way that these removal tools work. So Blood Money going to come down here, going to force that gold token to be used, and thankfully no runes were recycled here, because I feel like if he was forced to recycle here, it would have just spelled doom and gloom here. So Jace is going to come down, Vanguard Armory very likely going
Oof.
to follow, and now three more recruits going to hit the board, and I think Victor's off to the races.
Oh yeah, you could say that again. This is a picture perfect opening or start, I should say, for the Victor player. The 1-2 combo, the Jace into the armory coming down, developing the board quite handsomely. Victor a little behind on the point department, but doesn't feel too bad. Has the board control, not complete board control, but the base development enough to take that board control following their next turn. Yordle just gonna be conquering that Dreaming Tree, going up to 2 for the time being. But I think it's finally Victor's time to shine a little bit, to kind of push the pace and push back and catch up some bit on that points department. Let's see what they have with 7 runes available. I mean, each and every turn, Sasuke, how do you feel about Vanguard Armory? It seems kind of powerful, huh?
Vanguard Armory is definitely one of the best cards that Yellow got here on the set. I think the only other card that I would contend as the best new order domain card would have to be Dragged Under. It costs 5. It's just a strictly better blast of power. You can even, if you have Rek'Sai, play it from the top for 3 instead. And I mean, getting 3 recruits every single turn in a deck that just wants to make recruits just feels like such a house of an effect as well. So we'll have to see if there's going to be enough in Kai's tank to overcome this, as there is cards like Imperial Decree as well as Grand Stratagem to close out the game in the later stages.
Yeah, and actually thinking about it going forward, since this is a best of 3 matchup, I'm wondering how Kaiser could indeed kind of sideboard in preparation for something like an armory, or in preparation for gold tokens or gears in generals. I'm wondering, do you think they're running something like a thermal beam? If you were a Kaiser player, would you be running that right now?
I could be. I think even Rocket Barrage is something to consider here. You
Okay.
could even potentially be running it in the main board, just because Kaiser utilizes those spells so effectively. But yeah, I mean, this is a much more traditional Kaiser build. I've seen a lot of the mech Kaiser builds that people have been running. But I mean, look at it. He's kind of sitting pretty right now. He's going to force the Kaiser player to kind of almost overcommit to the board right now. That said, this Void Seeker is going to deal with this Jace very effectively, allow him to draw an additional card to hopefully find a couple more answers as well. And so now Pouty Poro is going to be able to go into the streaming tree, and it's going to be up to the Victor player to answer this. But that said, that deflect I feel like is going to be very costly.
Yeah, you don't want to do something like a simple stupefy because it's just going to be costing you a rune. Granted, you do have a little bit to spend. I mean, your gold is exhausted, so you can't use that. I think you just let your recruit token, as we're seeing here. So Kaiser going up to 3, but I think this treasure hoarder battlefield might be the one that Victor tends to hold. I don't know if he's holding up runes to kind of bluff, or do you feel like he has something like perhaps a hidden blade, or what else can blue yellow have from Victor?
Well, he's got 5 runes available, and so for me, the first thing that I think of is Dragged Under. So even if he
Okay.
has a cleave or anything to get over this hump, if you will, he's still running into a huge risk. So I think this is a great line here from Glasna. Understands that this is indeed a very high risk and doesn't want to take it here, because if he commits that cleave, sends it into the treasure hoard, not only does he not get to draw off the Dreaming Tree, but he also loses 2 cards in doing so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we'll see what they end up deciding to do now with 9 runes, plenty of cards to work with. Looks like both players have 5 cards to their names, but the board states are looking quite differently. There's a whole lot of recruit tokens and a whole lot of recruit tokens in the future as well, with the armory sitting pretty. No kind of interaction so far from the Kaiser player, as most Kaiser players don't tend to main board gear interaction. So Victor feeling good, feeling strong going forward. I'm wondering what he wants to do. Does he want to try to play around a Hex Tech Ray? I mean, it seems pretty simple. You kind of keep sending in your units. Pouty Poro only has 2 might, can go 2 recruit tokens, trade, and then try to conquer with 1. So let's see, he sends in 1. Okay, there we go. So he's trying to offer up the trade, unless he wants to just try to, okay. It will be a stupefy though on one of them, but isn't it a minimum of 1? Is it just to draw 2 perhaps on his own Pouty Poro?
Yeah, it looks like it is going to be just the draw 2 here. I like this use of the Stupefy. It's going to be very difficult to try and overcome what's going on here. He could have something like a Hex Tech Ray, but even if he does so, look, there's still 2 more recruits to just clear out the Pouty Poro anyway. So just give him the point for now. Find yourself a couple more answers for these future turns, and hopefully find something that's a little bit more impactful to do on these following turns as well. So Stupefy going to be the choice here onto the streaming tree for the Victor player. Allow himself to get a couple more cards as well. And Victor, he's going to be able to get 3 more recruits again, and then also still has 8 runes available. So, I mean, as this game continues, I feel like PewQ is just feeling more and more in control of what's going on. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be up to Kaiser to find a way back into this game, because as it stands right now, there's 6 cards available for this Victor player, 8 runes available for this Victor player, and what's going to be 5 recruits in the back line as well.
Oh yeah, and they're both making great use of that Dreaming Tree battlefield. It was Kaiser's battlefield selection, but both seemingly getting great draws from that double stupefy. One from Kaiser, one from Victor, looking good, and the Victor champion hitting the board. That's usually not the other one we saw in the last set. I think more set 2 Victors are going with the Victor Innovator. When you play a card on your opponent's turn, which they have so many spells to work with, you end up making a recruit token. And if we thought he already had enough recruit tokens, here comes 3 more thanks to the armory. So how much might or how many little units are in the back line? 2, 4, 6, 8 total recruits plus the Victor champion, 1 on the battlefield with a hidden card. Victor seemingly in a firm driver's seat at the moment. How will Kaiser try to take that away, take a little bit and slow him down, slow down that momentum that he's so far ahead, not on points, but just on board development overall?
Yeah, I mean, look, we know that there's only one hidden card for Victor here. It's the Hidden Blade. We know it's there. But Now the question you have to ask yourself is, am I going to Hidden Blade the unit, give Kai'Sa 2 more cards, or am I just going to draw 3 cards off of this Hidden Blade here? I have to assume it's the draw 3. Um, he's got enough gas on the tank. It's also just going to make another recruit in doing so. So it essentially just moves it to base on top of that. So we'll have to see if Kai'Sa has an answer because, look, Cathian Rain can only do so much. It can get rid of 6 of them, but there's still 8 recruits already there. There's going to be an additional 3 coming. This Vanguard Armory is just showcasing how powerful it can be, and it's just getting better and better as these turns go by.
Oh yeah, and what's the card? I believe it's called Bestos Bellows. Is that a Fury? Or actually, I think Orn, not
Oh,
Orn.
Bellows Breath. Yeah, it's the Orn card. Yeah, yep. Bellows Breath.
Bellows Breath. That's right,
Deal
and
1
that's
damage
a
to 3 units.
com.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's blue green only, huh?
No. It is a mind card. It
Okay.
is 1 energy and 1 power. Deal 3 to 3 units at the same location, and then it has repeat. It's
Okay.
actually very good with Imperial Decree. Um, I don't know if you've seen that combo, but you pay 5 for the Imperial Decree, and then your Bellows Breath can now shoot 3 units because it does 1, 2, 3 different things.
Oh
Really
yeah.
powerful effect.
Super powerful combo. We actually saw it earlier in today's event. So we know Viktor is running. I don't think this was the Viktor player that specifically did that combo, but we did see it earlier today. So I'm familiar with it. But I was wondering if Kai'Sa players end up running. I don't think they do. But in this situation, it would do wonders, pinging 1 damage on each of those recruits. But the Hidden Blade does get played out, saving that recruit token, allowing him to most likely hold. But of course, the Yordle will be the follow-up play. And wages of pain coming down, doing 3 damage onto the Yordle. That's going to be more than enough unless there's some kind of pump. But blue-red doesn't tend to have any kind of pumps. Even if you have a cleave, it's a little bit too late. It's an action reacting to an action, does not make sense. You get a draw, but your Yordle will be going down. So I think this recruit will be holding up, going up to 5 and potentially 6 points on this very next turn for Viktor. He's looking prime and ready to go into a game too, because he's looking good right now.
Boy, yeah, things just keep getting from worse to worser to worsest, and then somehow it still gets worser. This Vanguard Armory, I feel like, has just been an absolute house this game. The Viktor player has been doing such a good job of just patiently playing everything out here. Knew he had the Hidden Blade available to him, found the time to play down this Viktor, manages to get 2 additional recruits from it. And so now this Darius has to come down and just be used to get rid of a recruit token to kind of try and slow things down just that little bit. But again, there's still just 8 recruits already on the field here, so this Darius is not holding.
Yeah, not too bad. Sequencing it perfectly, kind of baiting out some cards from the Viktor player before the Darius comes down. Some small mistakes that earlier players can do is like go in with the Darius first, falling victim to that Hidden Blade, but saving as much information as you can for the very end. And Glasna did very well with that. So, I almost said Darcy, but Darius coming in with the Conqueror. And where my mind was at, I was trying to allude to the fact that PewQ just got to the lower bracket right now. This is his first game in the lower bracket. He lost against Darsu, the player we just saw in the winners finals. Unfortunately did fall short to J-Chan, of course, but PewQ saying, you know what, I do not belong in this lower bracket. I'm going to try my damnedest to climb back my way up and face maybe J-Chan in those grand finals, but that'll be an epic story if he ends up doing that. But Viktor looking good, as we keep reiterating this whole time, pushing forward a whole lot of recruit tokens, 5 to be exact. Is there going to be a little Hex Tech rate from the Kai'Sa though?
Now, I do think that if you are the Viktor player here, you just send that additional recruit right now just to play
Mm-hmm.
around exactly that Hextech Ray that you're talking about. Because if you just throw away 5 recruits here, it's going to be a couple of turns before before this Darius gets removed. And now he runs right into this Hextech Ray. Although there is 5 runes available, looks like he just wants to utilize the Stupefy while he has it available, try and force more out of his opponent. And honestly, great line here from PewQ. Understood that he needed to play around that Hextech Ray, played around it beautifully here. Is going to be able to overtake both of these battlefields, even still, bring himself up to that 6 point threshold. And he's going to have 5 more recruits at the ready as well. And I mean, Kai just got to figure out something probably a couple of turns ago to be able to come back here. So very well navigated from this Victor player. I feel like a lot has navigated or has shifted, and it really, I know we've kind of stomped on this idea, but it really does feel like it's just come down to this Vanguard Armory.
Oh yeah, and to make matters worse, the singularity coming down and eliminating the entire back line for Kaiser. There's no more units, no more pressure. Granted, Kaiser's known for having accelerated units like those Kaiser, like those Darius, so she's not completely out of it just yet, but this doesn't feel too good. Victor at 6 points, they could kind of keep developing that base as we mentioned before, and if one of those 3 cards remaining in the hand are those Grand Strategians or the Imperial Decree, this is as good as over. It's looking very, very good for the Victor player. I wouldn't be surprised if Kaiser just scoops things up to save time. She's at 4. Yeah, this is tough. I think we will be going to a game 2 very shortly.
I tend to agree with you here. I mean, he's got the Kaiser accelerated on, in his champion zone, in the chosen champion zone. But I mean, what else? You got to figure out a little bit more than just that. Piercing Light is going to be able to help out a lot in getting rid of just a couple of these units. But again, he's got so many recruit tokens. He's got 3 cards in hand. It's a plethora of removal, and we know it. So how do you get around all of this here? So the Victor is going to get taken away. That does help just that little bit, but man, there's still just so many recruits available. So looks
Sasuke,
like
I'm smelling the rain,
Acathian
and it
Rain.
is. Mm-hmm.
So
Acathian
he's got
Rain.
1 more turn available to him, right? Just one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, he's gonna have 1 more turn available to him. Hopefully, he'll be able to get rid of that last recruit. So we'll have to see how the rest of this game gets navigated. He is able to stave off the aggression for just this 1 turn, but again, this Vanguard Armory just keeps putting the pressure on. And the fact that this Victor is going to be able to make an additional recruit after the fact as well makes things even more difficult. So, I mean, if I'm the Victor player, I'm just feeling great. I'm
Oh
feeling
yeah.
great.
Looks like he's just going to be triggering the leader ability, getting 1 recruit token, and then can exhaust their armory, as we said before, get 3 more on top of that. So he had a whole lot of recruit tokens the previous turn, just like that, able to kind of bring that board state back into his old state. Old former glory, I should say, and looking good so far. The Honest Broker, even if it dies, it does get a little gold token in the back line. It has plenty of units to push both battlefields this very next turn, unless there's another Acathian Rain, but it's going to be the Darius coming down, getting that ready position because of the Hopeful coming down, pushing the Honest Broker. And if he wanted to, I guess he could defend here if he wanted to win with the hole, but it seems a little unnecessary. It looks like he's just going to go for it anyways. This Wages of Pain coming down, making things even, essentially, effectively down to 2 versus 2 might. Actually, no. Darius is at 7. What am I talking about? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Darius is at 7. So it looks like he's just got a second Wages of Pain. That is going to be the case. So 3 more gold tokens going to be generated, but there's just 2 open battlefields, which mean that this game is effectively over now. So he's going to put himself up to that 8 point, which I think to me just tells me that Glasna has accepted defeat here. So it is going to be up to Glasna to figure out a way to win on the draw in game number 3, but also he's got to figure out a way to get around this Vanguard Armory. So if he's got thermal beams, if he's got rocket barrages, it's going to be a little bit easier, but that Vanguard Armory just showcasing exactly how powerful of a card it can be.
She has things like those Fallen Stars, the Piercing Lights, just going to be pinging 1 more damage on each of those units. We'll see if that comes into play. But I was wanted to say beforehand, this Victor looking totally different than the set 1 Victor, as we tend to know, because in this matchup, Kaiser was heavily favored, but she almost seemed like she was on the back foot. I mean, I guess it was ever since the Jace Armory combo came down. I mean, not too many decks could really handle that much pressure every single turn.
think the only really card that answers that is like Forge Fire Cape. I mean, Bellows Breath can do some damage, but I mean, at one point he had 8 recruits out, and even then he was still just able to generate 3 more. So if he wanted to be super fun and fancy, he could have had 11 recruits on his base at one point in time. Which Bellows Breath can get rid of like half of them, and there's still just so many more available. So look, Falling Star was able to create a little bit of pressure, but the Yordles just weren't doing enough, it felt like. So we'll have to see if this Kaiser has updated his list to be a little bit more procured to be able to handle what this Victor is doing, because as it stands right now, it's not, and it's going to continue to exacerbate itself, especially with cards like with battlefields like Firewall's Lair on the ready.
Yeah, I think so too. Even if you side in like additional Cathian range, you're paying so much to just take down single-minded units. It doesn't feel too good, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. Stupefy does get pulled out, gets it played out onto the onto the Poro on that Void Gate, just for the draw one to see more available cards to him and to push him forward with that on his broker. That should be good enough, unless of course that's infamous Kaiser spell, the Hextech Ray, pretty much the only legend still running Hextech Ray, and nope, gonna be going down. So on his broker, gonna be going up 1 point apiece, and the recruit token making that 2. So Viktor getting the early card advantage, and never mind, there is the Hextech Ray for the recruit on the right hand side.
I'm surprised to see that he didn't want to protect the Plundering Poro here. I guess he just doesn't want to give the Victor the gold token that early here. There was 4 runes available. Might have been afraid of that Jace there, and I think that's exactly what was going on through Glasna's mind here. Because if that was going to be that gold token onto the battlefield, that Jace hits the battlefield, that Vanguard Armory hits the battlefield on turn 2, I felt like that would be lights out right then and there. Just because over the course of the game, there's just too much pressure to deal with. But now, Varus Forerunner, one of the most difficult cards in the game for this Victor list to deal with.
Oh yeah, I believe so. I mean, we didn't see it come into play in game 1, perhaps a sideboard, but I seen a lot of Kaisa's main board the Forerunner, so I believe she just didn't draw it in that earlier game. So we'll see, it does come into play. Not only does it have 6 total might, so able to take down a good amount of units, but every time it dies, or when it dies in general, you get 2 3 might units in the back line. So we'll see how Kaisa decides to maneuver that Forerunner going forward. Has a Yordle though up and ready right now for the actually no, I'm thinking it's Kaiser's turn, but no, still Victor's turn. So deciding to retreat the Honest Broker for now, not letting him get the free gold, which is kind of interesting, kind of deciding valuing more the 2 might rather than the gold, which is kind of curious to see.
Yeah, for me, I think exactly what PewQ is doing here is just utilizing his units as best as he can. Being able to get that second point off of the unit feels a lot better than you think it would. So he was already able to get that second point. I think at this point he's just trying to figure out what ways he can utilize it best. To me, it tells me that he doesn't have the Jace or the Vanguard Armory in hand, and he's just trying to find it right now through cards like this Consult the Past.
Yeah, and he's done a very good job at keeping the hand size quite healthy. 2, 4, 6, 7 total cards in hand for the Victor player. And it's rare that you see, at least in traditional builds, where Victor tends to outdraw a Kaiser player. Doesn't tend to happen, but maybe set 2, as we're seeing here, has changed things up. The Forerunner getting pushed into Valmon's lair does get the Conquer, going up to 2 so far. Does he want to leave the Yordle a little bit exposed, because he's completely tapped out? And I like this play from Kaiser, just exposing, leaving the Forerunner alone, because if it dies, you just get 2 mech tokens. And I think at this point, you'd rather have those 2 3 might mech tokens in the back line rather than one big unit.
I tend to agree with you here. I think that the second Varus Forerunner is going to be incredibly difficult for this Victor player to overcome. There's 2 Varus Forerunners on the field already. You're only behind by 1 point here as Glasna. Yes, he will be able to get that Void Gate pretty easily here. But that said, you have a couple of punches back coming on these next couple of turns. And as well, even if he does find an answer for this Varus Forerunner, there's still 3 there's still 2 3 mech units at the base that will exist after the fact. So there's going to be a ton of units available for this Kai'Sa player, as well as that Kai'Sa chosen in the chosen zone still. So even if he just doesn't really find something that he wants to do, he could potentially just draw an additional card and hopefully find something a little bit more useful. But right now, it does feel like this Viktor player is on the back foot. I wouldn't say he's out of it yet, but if a third Ferris Forerunner comes down, I just don't know what this Viktor player can do.
Yeah, basically, Kai'Sa has all her chips on the board right now because she only has 3 cards available, so not that many resources in the hand economy, but the board state looking fantastic. Essentially, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total units. Basically, make that 8 total units if you're counting the deaths of those Forerunners. So Viktor decides to push forward, gets a nice little simple conquer from the recruit token. Let's see what he decides to do on the layer. Does he want to just let a hold go off? Because you're a bit ahead on point tempo at the very moment. You're behind in everything else except the hand size, of course. But at the very moment, you're ahead in the points. So does he want to kind of play towards a hold strategy where you leave that Forerunner alone for the time being, but tapping 4, is that going to be another Jace as we saw in game 1, bringing down that 7 cost item? It is going to be the Jace coming down. Let's see if the 1-2 combo one more time coming in. And if so, is Kai'Sa prepared for something like that? Is there something like a gear removal looming in the hands of the Kai'Sa player?
Did the Jace? I don't think the Jace had a gold token.
Oh, they had. Yeah, you're saying. Wait. You play me.
He didn't have any gear to sacrifice here for that Vanguard Armory, because if he did,
okay.
I feel like he would have in a much better place. But because that didn't happen here, I would still say this Viktor player is very much on the back foot. It seems like this Ferris Forerunner is going to be able to survive an additional turn here, and the fact that he's tapped under 5 runes just tells me that there is no dragged under available as of yet. And so now this Honest Broker is just kind of stuck in the base trying to figure out a way around this all. And so now Ferris Forerunner could probably just go right onto the other battlefield, take that Void Gate, probably alongside that Plundering Poro, generate another gold token, and allow this little bit of reprieve that this Kai'Sa player so desperately needs.
Yeah. And she does get the whole point for the 3, so I agree. I think just a Forerunner, push it forward. Even if it's going to be a Hidden Blade, you're going to be getting those 2 mech units in the back line. Then you could push with the Porter, get the gold token guarantee because there's going to be an empty battlefield to get that Congress. So I like that sequencing there. But going for the Yordle first, just kind of valuing the Forerunner for a little bit later down the road, saying if you want to take out this 2-might Yordle, be my guest. And it will be taken out by blood money, so kill unit at the battlefield with 2 might or less and get some recruit tokens. Is it just 1, right? It's just 1 if you kill a unit?
A gold token, yeah.
A gold token, yes.
And so now this Plundering Poro is going to come in, going to be able to generate another gold token for this Kai'Sa player. And Kai'Sa has only, excuse me, has only had to use 1 rune this entire game. So Stupefy going to come down here, just be able to find yet another card. We'll have to assume that a Falling Star is going to follow. So both of these more than 1 might units are going to get stripped away, and all of a sudden it really feels like this Kai'Sa player has found a way to get full control of the game.
Absolutely, fully stabilized, fully in control, double battlefields locked down, a bigger back line. All that's missing, and it's not really a downside, is Kai'Sa's hand size being a little bit on the lower side. But when you have control of a board state like this, you don't really feel too bad. Even has another card with the Champion Zone getting played out, so things are looking quite bad. The only thing that could perhaps help Viktor out, and in this position might not really do too much, is something like a Singularity to try to pick off some of these units. But with the Forerunners having the death knell that we keep talking about, it feels like Kai'Sa is in the firm driver's seat, and I believe he's saying, this is my final lifeline, right? If I lose here, that ends my entire tournament run. There's no Swiss, there's no top cut. It's double elimination. This is the final game for these players. Or if they win, they're going to be continuing on, but final game if they lose. And Kai'Sa does not want to go down so easily, so I respect the effort. And he's making a really good show for himself in this game too. Most likely, heading ourselves to an infamous game 3, unless Viktor pulls off some crazy lines in this next couple turns, because he has some cards and he has some runes, so nothing's impossible. But so far so good for Kai'Sa.
We'll have to see what this Victor player does here. I mean, he hasn't found any time at all this series, or at game rather, not series, to play his own chosen champion. And as such, I feel like he's been struggling to find the amount of units he needs to take over this game. And the fact that there is no Vanguard Armory at his disposal has made things even more difficult. We'll have to see if the Kai'Sa did actually have an answer to it. My assumption is not. But this is just a difficult position to be in. Dragged Under is finally going to be utilized here just to get rid of this Forerunner that has been sitting there for these last couple of turns. And now this recruit is able to overtake the battlefield here. Viktor has to figure out something soon, because right now, look at how many units are on the side of this Viktor player. This is Kai'Sa player. This is crazy.
Yeah, almost like the script has been flipped from game 1. It was Viktor with the abundance of units in that game 1. Now it's the Kai'Sa player with so many units available to kind of push in and keep on scoring these points. So going up to 5 points with the hold, and there's just a recruit plus that most likely, as we've said before, should be that hidden blade. As actually we did see one consult the pass, so it could be a simple draw too, but the piercing light has to target one at the battlefield, so most likely choosing to target the recruit token there. Wages of pain getting played out in reaction speed, so most likely gonna be choosing its own recruit token, but he's had enough, just saying let's go on to this game 3.
Game number 3, Glasgow has to figure out a way to win this on the draw. And for me, I have to say, it feels like the Viktor player's favored here on the play.
Yeah, notoriously, Viktor's known as one of the more aggressive decks in the game. So in this situation, it's a little bit more of a mix of a control slash aggro build. So let's see. I mean, starting things off as simple as you can get with the recruit token getting developed onto the base. But something to keep an eye on going forward for this game 3 is the conservatory. In this situation, Kai'Sa doesn't mind triggering that as well, because both of these legends known for having so many spells in their deck, but not letting the recruit token get an easy conquer on the conservatory just yet. It looks like Kai'Sa wants to be the first one to kind of push in and defend that battlefield to try to get some resources, perhaps, as the game continues. So let's see. I think that Kai'Sa's just doing what she's always done in this early game.
Yeah, look, for me, it feels a lot of players here, I feel like, would be like, why wouldn't you just play the Viktor here? You have 4 runes available. You're probably not doing much with the rest of your turn anyways. Why not develop that beautiful unit? And the answer is Falling Star is a very, very real threat, as well as Piercing Light. So if he did decide to go that route, the Watchful Sentry would very likely go ahead, take a battlefield, allow that Piercing Light to just double shoot the Viktor. You do lose the Watchful Sentry in the meantime, but it doesn't feel bad because you get rid of the biggest threat that deck has available. So Watchful Sentry just going to go into Reaver's Row here, give himself a point, hopefully allow him to bring it back to base and use it again on a following turn. But for now, it just feels like Kai'Sa's not in a bad spot. But I do think that the Viktor player's feeling a little bit more comfortable with the way that things are panning out.
Yeah, slightly, I would agree. So interesting decision though. Going into Reaver's Row, wouldn't you want to start maybe generating some card draw with their conservatory with the sentry there? Because you don't have to win the conquer or win the combat like Draven decks. You just have to simply defend. But maybe valuing instead of the draw, yeah, I guess that was the line he had in mind. He wanted to save the sentry to try to push in going forward. So allowing these 2 conquer points to go the way of the Viktor player. 3 units in the back line. I don't think he's going to be staying like that too much longer. But let's see what Viktor decides to do with the final 6 runes available to him. I mean, what's about the best you can do? I mean, as you mentioned, it's always a crazy, scary play to develop your champion unit when there's no falling stars left. There hasn't been any falling stars played in game number 3, so you know there has to be 1 or 2 lurking in the future. But there's only 2 cards to Kai'Sa's name. essentially 3 more on the board once the Death Knell triggers. So at the very moment, you could kind of estimate there might not be a falling star in the current hand.
Yeah, look, for me, it feels like there just really hasn't been a reason to use the falling star. But I mean, for me, it does feel like there has been a reason to, uh, be hyper aggressive here. So I like the hidden here a lot. I mean, if it is a hidden blade, it's gonna feel pretty bad if there is that falling star, because not only do you get to get rid of the hidden blade, but you also get to get rid of Victor, and that is going to be the case, which is a very, very good turn for this Kai'Sa player. So Victor going to be gone, as well as that recruit token, which means that that hidden card is also no more. So, uh, yeah, I mean, I don't think Kai'Sa's in a bad spot here. It doesn't feel like either player really has a firm control of the game as of yet, but we have to assume that that card in his in that Raven and Bloom Conservatorium is that hidden blade. He does also run Wages of Pain, which we have been aware of. Instead, it is going to be the Falling Star onto the back line instead.
Yeah, you would imagine he wants to target the conservatory one to kind of let go of that hidden card. But if it is indeed a hidden blade, you're gonna just give him the +2 draw. But you might end up just giving him the +2 draw anyways down the road, so clearing the entire back line and still reacting to the falling star with the hidden blade, drawing 2 right now. And we were scared of this play for the Victor player. He's saying, when is the opportune time to get your champion unit out? And the answer against a Kai'Sa player is really never. But took the chance and did not really pan out the way he hoped for. We were just saying there's only 2 cards available for Kai'Sa. How risky can it be? It looks like he might have just had it since the opening turn, because they didn't have in a couple sequence of events the Stupefy coming down just to get an additional draw. But the Falling Star is still going to be doing what it did in the beginning, targeting both and taking down both of those units it targeted.
This feels like an absolutely devastating scenario to be in here, especially because this Kai'Sa will very likely be able to draw a card off of this Reaver's Row. That said, but once it does go into that Reaver's Row, I just have to assume that it's never coming back. So we'll have to see if the Victor wants the gold token or if he wants the unit instead. We have to assume that it does want that Honest Broker to just last that little bit longer. But we don't know what he has in hand. He might have that Jace Vanguard Armory combo, and if that is the case, he's going to feel a lot better about the scenario. So
Oh.
instead, another false star going to come down, completely clear away this entire field, it feels like. And oh boy, this feels bad. So look, this Kai'Sa player is now definitely starting to get in control. That said, it's 7 cards to 1 or 8 cards to 1 right now. So, and as well, he's ahead on runes.
Mm-hmm. Man, unbelievable. Out of the 3 cards remaining for Kai'Sa, she hasn't even seen the 3 draws you get for Sentry, as they're still all alive on the current board. Out of the 3 cards from that turn, from the draw phase that you got on your turn, 2 of them were Falling Stars, and that's exactly what Kai'Sa needed to kind of solidify her dominance in this game. And that's exactly what Victor was not hoping to see. Had a strong board development so far, going down to just a single recruit token. Sasuke, he has so many cards in hand, but I've seen this before. You could have so many cards in hand, but when you don't have things like Sprite Mother or aka accelerated units, you're gonna let these Kai'Sa players or other opponents just incur those points from 3 to most likely 5, or at the minimum 4 the very next turn. Because right now he has a recruit token. Kai'Sa just has 1 card in hand. Granted, if he's drawing the way he's drawing, that might just be the Hex Tech Ray to end things off. So let's see what they decide to do. But this is looking very, very tricky despite the big hand size from Victor.
So the recruit token gonna go here into the Reaver's Row. I like this a lot. Don't trigger the Conservatorium. Do not allow this Kai'Sa to refuel her hand. Just try and play this as slow as possible. Even if he's able to get to 5 next turn, that still means that you got 2 more turns to work with before you have to really be concerned about what's going on your opponent's side of the field. You will be able to at least generate 1 more recruit token. Hopefully, there's not a third falling star or a piercing light off the top for this Kai'Sa. The Kai'Sa will potentially be able to draw 3 additional cards next turn if he finds a way to get rid of these sentries. But for right now, it just feels like you have to play this patiently. You have to set up for these next couple of turns. And yeah, I mean, PewQ's got to figure out something quick. And right now, he just hasn't found it.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like it's going to be the turn to do so. I don't think he's going to be pushing forward on the conservatory, allowing the sentries to go up to 4. But the Jace comes down, and there is indeed a gold token, but nothing following up the Jace. I thought it would be the armory to kind of give him some kind of light, some kind of glimmer of hope in this game 3. But Kai'Sa does end up holding, going up to 4 points herself. Has a sentry to try to offer the trade for the recruit. Unless you just have a little bit of spell, but the Reaver's Row most likely just going to allow that recruit token to back up and save it for a follow-up turn. But you know, Kai'Sa's not in a fantastic position. She's a little bit ahead, but this is a situation Kai'Sa players don't want to find themselves in. You never really want to be the player with just 2 cards in hand. And granted, the units on your board, you do have them, but they're all just single-minded units. I mean, she's ahead, but not in a fantastic position, to say the least.
I will say if a Ferris Forerunner does hit the field here, she'll feel a lot more comfortable. And that looks like that
Ooh.
is going to be the case. So now this Kai'Sa player, I feel like, is in a lot more of a controlling position. This Raven Blue Conservatorium is very likely going to trigger the Kai'Sa. And so now this Watchful Sentry, considering just bringing it back to base to be able to use it to overtake that Reaver's Throw on these following turns, but really just wants to have it there to kind of circumvent that 6 might that is on the base of this Viktor player here. And oh my God, how do you get out of the situation? This is difficult to say the least here. I mean, if he has the Bellows Breath combo, I feel like he's going to feel a lot better, right? You can just Bellows Breath to the Forerunners, and then you can Bellows or Imperial Decree, Bellows Breath again. But that does require 2 Bellows Breath, and
Right.
I just don't think he has it.
Yeah, because it's going to be 5 for the Imperial Decree. 2 is 2 or 1 for Bella's Breath?
1.
1. Okay, so hypothetically, he does have enough resources to do so, but that would have to line up very perfectly. So let's see if he has something incredible to this turn, because right now, Kai'Sa's looking pretty poised to close things out, moving forward in this lower bracket. I don't think it's the lower finals just yet. I think there's one more round, the final round. Then it decides who goes forward into that losers bracket finals. So yeah, playing for a lot on the line. Viktor player doesn't want to go out so easily. Has, as we mentioned before, so many cards available. But what's good with all the cards if you're not going to be pushing the pace? You're not going to be conquering these battlefields. Jace 2 recruits not going to be looking too good against a Forerunner, especially even if you do kill it, you just have 2 mech tokens following up the next turn. So yeah, I don't blame Viktor for diving deep into the think tank, because these are tough decisions right now. He's kind of on his final breath saying, you know what, is this my tournament run? I climbed so far in the winner's bracket. I don't want to lose like this.
Look, this Ferris Forerunner just really showcasing how much of a difficult card it can be for these Viktor players to deal with. He's very clearly just forced to try and figure out a way around this, and very clearly also just does not have that answer available. So instead, just going to go right into the Reaver's Row. This Kai'Sa has been very protective of these Watchful Sentries, understands that the board presence is what matters against these Viktor players. So Singularity going to come down, just get clear out that battlefield, deny again that Conservatorium from triggering. But that said, he does get to draw an additional card, and he does get to create these mech tokens. So now it's going to be up to this Viktor player to just overtake this battlefield and hopefully have something like a hidden blade to protect this Conservatorium for just a little bit longer.
Yeah, and I do like this play going for the singularity before pushing in with the recruit because you don't want to give him that extra conservatory draw or most likely draw with all the spells in the Kaiser deck. But now it is time for Kaiser to go on the offense against the Victor. This following turn has plenty of units to work with, more so the other ones on the right hand side. Those 2-3 minute units can take down pretty much anything they kind of want as a unit. But looking at the Reaver's Road, Jace could kind of get saved another hidden card, most likely a Blade or a Consult the Past, as those are the only hidden cards we've seen so far. But Darius comes down and the Pouty Pour to follow things up, giving him that 7 and ready status, pushing into the Reaver's Row. Not too bad. Darius is probably the best card to push into Reaver's Row, offensively and defensively, because you get to save it, although you're completely tapped out.
This is absolutely devastating here. Look, this Darius is just going to be able to sit onto this Reaver's Row very likely here, which means that it's going to be up to the Victor player with what cards he has available to be a little bit more impactful than just what's going on right now. And with only 8 runes available, it just feels like he doesn't quite have enough left in the gas here. We'll have to see if he has some sort of answers, but right now it just doesn't feel like that is the case. He could potentially do something with Wages of Pain. I mean, this just feels so awkward here. Eh, Look, very clearly he's got something in the gas tank right now, but it just doesn't feel like it's enough as of yet.
Hmm.
So PewQ's got to do something to get around this Darius, and it just felt like the fairest forerunner into this Darius. This Kaiser player is just drawing perfectly right now, and well, the Victor player is not. I mean, he was forced to use the singularity onto a watchful sentry for God's sake. So, just going to use this
Oh.
hidden blade just to draw some cards because very clearly does not see the cards that he wants.
Yeah, surprising enough, with so many cards in hand, doesn't see exactly what he wants. So digging into the deck a little bit more, but man, drawing the way the Kaiser player has been drawing ever since those falling stars completely changed the course of this battle. If so, you're going up to 8 runes next turn. I'm willing to bet, Sasuke, is that final card something like a Thousand Tail Watcher? Because I think in that circumstance, that pretty much all but guarantees Kaiser moving forward in this lower bracket. Would you be willing to bet it's a Watcher or maybe something else?
Oof. Hmm. What would be worse than Watcher? No, it's got to be Watcher. No,
Right.
right now with the way that the Kaiser player has been drawing, it has to be a Watcher here. Maybe it's a 4th Watchful Sentry somehow. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe it got back from the banish pile.
Hmm.
No, I mean, but seriously though, this Kaiser player is in firm control of this game, and PewQ is in a world of hurt if he does not figure something out quick.
Yeah, it's so tempting to kind of take a little peek in the Victor's hand because TCGA does allow us to hover over and we're able to get a sneak peek. But just because the fact that they could be on the stream, I guess we get a little bit of an insight now. The Stupefy brings Darius down to 4 total might. It can't go up to 7 because they're completely tapped out. Stupefy choosing 2 targets. Wait a minute, was that 2? Oh no, they changed their target. So maybe looking like why would you choose? This is interesting because even if it's a singularity play or a bellows breath play repeated is what I'm kind of thinking that he's thinking about right now.
That's the only thing I could consider here. Yeah, a little weird. But I guess you gotta make do with what you got because right now this just doesn't feel like there is an answer for this Darius. I mean, if he does have something like a singularity, he could perhaps get rid of at least one of these mechs and the Darius, and so now the Jace would be able to go, or the recruit token would be able to go right into the Reaper's Row. The Jace would have to go into the conservatory because otherwise it's just too easy to overtake. So I mean, we'll have to see what is left in the gas tank here for this Victor player because right now it doesn't feel like there's anything left.
Yeah, let's see, because right now these players are actually just entered overtime. Victor's going to be turn 0, so they just have a total of 5 total plays left to be made for each of these. Or not each, but you guys know what I mean. The standard 5-turn clock after the round has been called. So Singularity coming down, taking down the Darius, taking down the mech that didn't get stupefied there, which kind of tells me maybe there's just one more Bellows Breath with that final little rune available to him. But even if that does come down, you still have your accelerated Kaiser unit and one unit remaining. So I think this is in a great position. You hide one card, could be a saving grace for the Victor players. They are at 7. It's funny enough, they are just 1 point away from victory, but Kaiser essentially just one swing away from victory as well. But sends in the Sentry, which tells me they don't have it, Sasuke. They don't have the Watcher or something like an Acathian Rain to completely wipe this board. They're digging for it. They're digging for it ×2 with the double Sentry. At the very minimum, they still have 2 units to push forward, but what cards do they really need to kind of eliminate both of these cards? A Falling Star wouldn't do it. I think you kind of need a Rain from this position, no?
I think the only card that gets you out of the situation here is exactly that Watchful or Thousand Tail Watcher. Just because specifically right now, I mean, if that's not Hidden Blade exactly, how do you overtake this battlefield right now? Because there's only 5 might available for these 2 units. If this is something like a Wages of Pain, the mech is gone. So then it's really just a 4 into a 2, and that's not doing enough. So we'll have to see what he decides to do here. I don't know why there's another recruit there.
I think it was a little bit of discussion going on. The first Sentry was supposed to trade with the recruit. I don't think he let go of the recruit. And then this Sentry isn't going to be trading anything. He's adding damage onto Jace, but that's going to be cleaned up after the combat anyways. Unless we're completely missing something. We're seeing a -6. Wait, what are we missing, Sasuke? I think this is all just a little bit of a... Okay, the Wages of Pain clearing up the Sentry. Just to kind of make matters worse, not giving him any kind of trade value. Does get a gold token, but Kaiser is going to be able to see 1 additional card. Is this the top deck? Is this exactly what Kaiser needed? Something like the Acathian Rain looking pretty good. A Stupefy followed up by a Falling Star could look pretty good. There's a little bit, a couple outs, but no. Wait, oh, I thought it was a reset. My screen went in and out. I thought these players conceded, but no, there's still some game to be had. And Kaiser trying to find what she has. Unless it did reset. Sasuke, are you still in the game?
So I am still in the game here. Look, this Kaiser is going right in right now, just trying to overtake this battlefield with the Jace. There's only 1 rune available for this Victor player, and I have to say it feels like the game is pretty much over here. And yep, there comes the reveal from PewQ. Was not able to find the cards he was looking for. Had a couple of cold weeks in hand, but never really found the time to cast it, and shows the Bellows Breath in the bottom 6. Unfortunate for him. So you know, it is what it is, and sometimes you get there and sometimes you don't. But yeah, I mean, very, very well navigated from both of these players, and what felt like what should have been a very favored matchup for Kaiser felt very 50-50 for both of these players, as this Victor player was nearly able to sneak it out.